Hello, my dear students, and welcome to Edu AI Tutors. We are now going to do a preparation for your NEET, and I'm pretty sure that you are going to ace it. All right. So, having said this, children, I want you to stay focused. The first topic we are going to do is the living world. Simple one, easy one. We are seeing one question each year from this particular topic. This lesson has to be done mostly by solving question and answers, because there will be very predictable questions that are coming here. Do not go into a lot of subjective details, and let's see how we start and address this lesson. So when you're taking a look at this topic, the living world, take a look at this, children. Now, we have seen that living world, this topic is basically dealing with all possible living organisms on this planet, unicellular, multicellular, how different they are, and this lesson deals with classifying them. So we'll keep it very simple. Here we are seeing that, okay, scientists have estimated that about 1.7 to 1.8 million species are existing, but yet there are still many undiscovered, which is where you have to always keep your mind open that there are going to be exceptions. You cannot have a very rigid mentality saying, okay, this is the classification system we are following, so why is this particular organism added here? Exceptions, and NEET will have questions especially in these exception areas. Okay, so we're going to see that one by one. Here what we observe is, students, that earth contains a huge variety of organisms, and we are looking at all organisms, be it plants, animals, fungi or bacteria, and all these varieties what we consider as diversity. Okay, because there are a lot of different type of organisms, the way of living is different, habitat is different, the cellular morphology is different, cellular count is different, a mode of nutrition is different. So all that gives us this concept of biodiversity. Now, the branch of biology which is dealing with identifying all this diversity, naming and also putting them in different categories, that is what we call as taxonomy. Very predictable questions come here from taxonomy. We are going to see what are we expecting. Okay, so remember, living organisms will show you lots of distinguishing features, and that is where we come with the word diversity. Most of the times I see students getting confused. What is this diverse? What is similarity? They are the terms which will help you identify or distinguish an organism. Okay, so this is where we see taxonomy, systematics. These branches will help you understand why an organism is different from the other, and what kind of organisms will show you similarities. Now look, here what we see is not all the features are unique to the living organisms individually, but together they will all be coming in a similar category. Okay, so now what we see is that this is an area of living world. This is the area of your lesson which is going to give you certain characteristics. So you will have growth, reproduction, consciousness, locomotion, movement, certain terms we are going to discuss, and we are going to see if these terms are going to be the defining character of a living organism. Starting with growth. Okay, now this is something that you're expected to know. So growth, when you talk about growth is nothing but increase in the mass and the number of cells. So when you see plants, they have meristematic tissues on their tips, shoot and root tips. They've got something called as lateral meristem, intercalary meristem, isn't it? So apical meristem. So because of these meristematic tissues, plants will grow throughout their life. Animals, on the other hand, they will grow only up to a certain age. They will not have unlimited growth. Look at your parents. They have stopped growing after a certain time. Even when you become an adult, you will stop growing. Nobody becomes an Eiffel Tower. Non-living organisms, on the other hand, if you observe, they also grow. Imagine a debris. Look at the mountain. Things will keep depositing on them. The size and the mass will grow, correct? So when you say growth is not just restricted to living organisms, which is why we say growth alone cannot define living organism. You cannot say that, okay, something is growing means it is living. Living organisms grow, but only living organisms grow, that is not true. Okay, so growth is not the defining characteristic. Next, reproduction. Now keep in mind, what is reproduction? When an organism is able to give birth to the offspring of the same species, of its own kind. You would not expect a giraffe to give birth to a lion. So animals, here we generally see most of the organisms reproducing, most of the animals reproducing sexually, two parents involved, gametes involved. But when you see plants, they can produce both sexually as well as asexually. Here again, asexual, only one single parent is involved. We are going to see in detail in the other topics when we do the other topics for NEET preparation. But when you see certain living organisms, like for example mules, worker bees, they are not capable of producing an offspring. So does that make them non-living? In fact, when you take a look at certain human beings also, they can have fertility issues which can make them infertile. They cannot produce gametes to make an offspring, or even if they are producing gametes, there can be complications because of which they are not able to produce an offspring. So does that make them non-living? No, right? So here what we see is even if any living organism is not able to give rise to another of its own kind, does not make them non-living, which is why reproduction is also not a defining property. Okay, it does not define a living organism as living or non-living. That's where we say defining property. Now next here, please keep in mind students, we are looking at the cellular organism, organization of an organism. We are looking at multicellular and unicellular. But dealing with that, we are going to dive into consciousness as well as metabolism. So what we see is students, there are organisms which are single-celled, unicellular, amoeba, paramecium, right, algae. Now, multicellular, you can see many organisms, something that you can see with your naked eye, something which you may need a microscope, but multicellular organisms made up of many cells, eventually having complexity to make a specialized system, like digestive system, like reproductive system, correct? So, unicellular or multicellular, these organisms, please keep in mind, will show cell only as the basic structural unit, okay? So this is a part of living organism. Now, why do we include this? Because cells are capable of showing you something called as metabolic activity, which is seen in living organisms. What is a metabolic activity? Chemical reactions. When you're digesting food, there is breakdown. When the respiration takes place, there's a release of carbon dioxide from humans. In case of plants, if you see photosynthesis reaction, you can look at sunlight and chlorophyll using water and carbon dioxide to make glucose and giving out oxygen and taking and water vapor also, correct? Now, what we are looking at, these chemical reactions, these are what we call as metabolic activity. Some where you will see breaking down of substances, some you will see synthesis, like using other substances to make a new substance. So catabolic, anabolic activities. So that metabolic activity is observed in living organisms. Another thing what you observe in living organisms is response to stimuli. You can be asked this word consciousness instead. So response to stimuli is nothing but, imagine if somebody pinches you, you touch a hot object. If light is, you're walking down a dark alley or road and there is no light, suddenly a big flashlight from a car is coming in. So you will have to cover your eyes instinctively. Yes or no? So what we see is living organisms will respond to light, temperature, even water, chemicals, touch, right? You have seen touch me not plant, you touch it, it will show you withdrawal, that's a seismonastic movement. Now, even plant bending towards sunlight, you have seen the action of auxins on plants, right? What we also see is students that human can withdraw their hand or limbs from anything that is uncomfortable, that acts as a stimulus. So, response to stimulus is ability of every organism to basically show awareness, consciousness, okay, being present, being alive. Now you take a rock, okay, take any non-living organism, touch hot object to it, it may change form, it may melt, whatever, but it is not going to show a response to stimulus. It is not going to run away. If you try and, if you're angry and you punch a desk, it's not going to come back and punch you, right? No response to stimulus. When you look at the other factors here, students, we see that the diversity in the living organisms is observed based on their shape, their size, their structure, mode of nutrition, how are they consuming? Are they autotrophic, heterotrophic? If they are heterotrophic, are they parasitic, holozoic, okay, saprophytic? So what we see is that we know our planet has a lot of organisms, variety of organisms. And what word are you going to say in your mind when you say variety? Diversity, diversity. Okay, you have to keep this word in mind. So diversity of organisms is owing to, or that understanding comes due to the changes or variety in their sizes, shape. You look at the living organisms around you. Let's take a look at the animals. Cat, dog, caterpillar, butterfly, mosquito, you can say hair lice, right? So many varieties, isn't it? You look at yourself, you look at other human beings also. Even if you take a look at people from different parts of the planet, human beings, they will also be so different. They will show diversity, correct? But it is so surprising that you see that human beings, dinosaurs if they existed, or let's take elephant. Okay, elephant, human beings, and even a mosquito. These are all placed together in a same group of animals. Right? So when you are looking at this concept of diversity, all these characteristics will help you categorize them, put them in different categories. And this is where your NEET questions will start coming in, okay? Look, this huge diversity caused the scientists or motivated the scientists to bring about a concept of classification, which is where we see taxonomy. Here in taxonomy, every particular species, every particular group of organisms were identified, nomenclature, giving names, proper names, and they were classified, put in different categories. How those categories were decided, we'll come to know that. Now, what we see is these three important points about taxonomy can be an option of your multiple choice question. You may get a fourth option which is not related to taxonomy or any of these. Then you may be asked to pick which of the following is not dealing with taxonomy. Okay, so what do you know about taxonomy? It is basically identifying the organism, classifying it, putting in the correct category, and giving it an appropriate name. Now, why do all of these mean so much? Let's understand this. When you start, let's say, forget about identification, because when you're identifying, you are looking at literally the physical features of whether it is, size, or what is the size, the shape, whether the organism is unicellular, multicellular. So you're going to discuss all these appearances. But when you're talking about nomenclature, naming, what is so big deal about naming? See, students, remember, if you take a look at our beautiful world, so many countries, so many languages, and every language might have their own term for a particular organism, correct? So what we know them as vernacular names. But now one organism having so many different vernacular names, but when you are trying to put it in scientific studies or you are using them to understand its presence in the world, then it becomes extremely complex to remember all these vernacular names, which is why the concept of scientific name comes into existence. So scientific naming was required to avoid confusion caused by local names. Okay, so we may, like for example, mango. Mango is addressed differently in just, in Hindi you call it another word, in Marathi you will call it another word. So, you will see that there are different terms just for a single organism in our country itself. So imagine the world, there will be so many variations, correct? So to avoid confusion, scientific name was thought about. Who came up with this concept? It was introduced by Carlos Linnaeus, and he is the one who is considered as the father of modern taxonomy. Now, how were the names decided? Let's understand this. Yes, you can get questions. You can get questions either by identify the scientific name as which of the following scientific names are correct. You can get a question like that where you are expected to remember the rules, or you may get a question where the rules are already given and you are expected to decide which one among these is wrong or right. Okay, so here what are we going to do? We are going to remember the rules for naming, and then we are going to see how it is supposed to be named. Okay, so starting with, when you're talking about the rules, the first rule basically is you see that the genus name will start with a capital. Now, or let's start with this. There is something called as genus and there is something called as species. These are basically categories. We are going to elaborate on that as well in some time. But genus and species, these are two basic categories of classifying organisms, right? Now, the first term of a scientific name is genus and it starts with a capital letter. The second name, which is also considered as a specific epithet, the specific epithet will start with a small letter. Okay, now when you are typing, you are supposed to make sure that it is italics printed. Okay. But when you are writing it in the paper, you have to underline them separately. Now, when you are looking at this these particular rules, what is this word Homo sapiens? So, is this completely correct? No. There is one point missing here, that it is not in italics. See? So, Homo basically here is the genus, sapiens basically is the specific epithet. That's a species name. So, this together makes a scientific name for human beings. Okay, Homo sapiens. But when you want to write it perfectly, this has to be in italics since right now it is printed. Like here, Mangifera indica, this is the scientific name for mango. So, easy, you are supposed to know how to identify the correct scientific name. Please remember, first term generic name, which is the genus. Second, specific epithet, which is the species. Generic name, genus will start with capital letter and species will start with small letter. And it has to be in italics when it is printed and underlined separately when it is written, handwritten. Easy. Now let's understand next, when you're talking about classification, please remember that there is a systematic arrangement of organisms. Okay. We also come across the word systematics. Now, what are the advantage? You see that the simplification of the study of organisms, where you literally take an organism into consideration when you are looking at each category that it is. Each category is already going to be associated with certain characteristics. So, you will be able to understand, okay, if it is so from the plant category, it may be able to do photosynthesis. If it is from the animal category, then it may be able to locomote. Right. Now, when you see helps identify the organisms, yes, we already know that there are 1.7 to 1.8 million creatures existing, and there is a fair distribution already made that helps you understand and identify. Further, you will understand evolutionary relationship, which is very important. You're going to understand about this concept of phylogenetic relationship in biological classification when you pick next, and we'll elaborate it there. Now, when we say identify, classification, how is that happening? It is happening to this hierarchy. If you observe this hierarchy, right now, don't focus on this number because this arrangement is from lowest to highest. Okay, so the lowest here is species, genus, family, order, class, phylum. In case of animals, division in case of plants, and kingdom, which is basically going to be largely we're going to see how it comes into existence. So, from smallest to highest, this is the order. Please keep this in mind, children. Are you expected to know the order? Absolutely yes. Okay, there can be questions based on identify the correct order. So here what you see is species, here what, then you, now what is this, why is this lowest and all? Let's keep it simple. Students, here the placing is such that kingdom will include lot of organisms. If you look at the number of organisms, it will always be highest in kingdom and lowest in species. But when you look at similarity between organisms will be highest in species and lowest in kingdom. Now, what do you understand with this term? Look, when I say kingdom Animalia, okay, let's take a look at kingdom Animalia. Now, in kingdom Animalia, you have a caterpillar, earthworm, snake, human beings, deer, lion. If dinosaurs existed, even they would be in the kingdom Animalia. But if you place all of them together, let's say turtle also, rabbit also, any organism that comes to your mind as an animal, can you see how much of similarity are you going to see between a human and an elephant, an earthworm, or a mosquito, or a butterfly, a lion and a butterfly? Do you see similarities? So it's when you observe this particular branch, this particular category, this kingdom will show you lot of diversity. So, lot of organisms, number of organisms, huge. Similarity, less. Diversity, huge. So, please keep the terms in mind. You may get a question either ways. Species, if you observe, no similarities, because then you are, when you reach species, let's say Homo sapiens, if you're looking at this example right now, kingdom Animalia, alright, then you've got phylum, chordata, we have a spinal cord, mammalia, because mammary glands, we are mammals. Then primates. Now here is where you will even see apes coming. Okay, hominid, Homo sapiens. So when you see, by the time you read sapiens, you're only including your human beings. But when you see primates, you're also going to include apes. But when you see Animalia, you will also include butterfly. Are you seeing this? So similarity is least in a kingdom, and most, or you can say a lot of similarity will be observed in the same species. Remember the word similarity. Easy? Let's go further. We have certain taxonomic aid. These were questions which were 1 stars. Hopefully you will not be getting those questions here. Let's take a look at these simple questions, okay, with respect to all the possible areas that you're supposed to prepare for this lesson. So, one variety is which one of the following is considered as a defining quality of organism. So, here you can accept, you may have some kind of a conceptual question which says that there is a organism X which was growing, which was not reproducing, which was not moving, okay, and which had some metabolic activities. So, do you think it's living or non-living? Now, what I am trying to tell you is, if you look at these options, we have already provided you answers here because the practice questions will be sent later. But right now, I want you to understand how to reach to this answer. Okay, so we're going to go backwards. So here we know the option is C. But why are the others not? Let's understand this. Growth, why? Because we already know that even a rubble of debris, if you keep adding, it will grow. If you see a pile of books, keep books. Like for example, if you people don't clean your room regularly, you will see a pile of clothes. Until your mother screams, it will not go, right? So that will also keep growing. So is that living? No. Reproduction, there are humans, there are living organisms which cannot reproduce. That does not make them non-living. Further, movement, plants don't move, but they are still living, correct? So again, this cannot be a defining characteristic. So what is left is metabolism, which we already saw. Catabolic activity, metabolic activities, right? Easy. Now next, taxonomic hierarchy refers to, now remember, taxonomy is basically nothing but classification, then naming and identification of organisms, correct? But when you talk about the hierarchy, you're literally talking about who's the big to the small to the small to the small. It goes on like that. So what did you see? Kingdom, phylum in case of animals, division for plants, then class, order, family, genus, species. That's the hierarchy. So what did this hierarchy help you do? Did it help you classify the organisms based on their habitat? We didn't do that. Did we pick kingdom animalia saying, oh, all the people who live on land, they're animals? What happened to the fishes? What happened to the birds? We didn't choose habitat. So this one does not come. Then identification of organisms. Well, and naming of organism. See, hierarchy will not help you identify or name. Hierarchy is literally just putting you in different categories, which is exactly what you're looking here. So this is a stepwise taxonomic category or stepwise arrangement of taxonomic category. Okay, please remember, the moment you say hierarchy, remember the key term, categories. Okay, and see, these questions you should be able to answer in less than a minute, children. Especially for this particular lesson, so scoring, because they're a very specific and limited area of questions. So this lesson should be done very fast. Okay, if you get a question, you should come to this answer in less than a minute. Okay, next, identify the correct sequence. See, I told you, you can get questions. They say this was asked in one of the examinations here. So here, take a look at this. Now I'll tell you how to easily come to this. Sometimes some children may get confused and overwhelmed and they have to reread. That's where you waste time. Don't do that. Look, kingdom, so cut it. Next, species, cut it. Genus, cut it. Now here, family, all same. So now you focus on this option. So family, order, class. Was that the one? No. So this is eliminated. Gone. Now you are left with these three. Go very fast, okay? Kingdom, order, no. Class, no. You know that kingdom, phylum. Kingdom, phylum. So you don't have to reread everything. Okay? Identify the common, then one which is the most uncommon, eliminate that. See if it is right or wrong. Then go to the least common. That way you have to come to the answer faster. Are you getting it? Instead of sitting there and trying to recollect. That is not the correct way. Next. Which taxonomic category contains organisms with least similarity? Please, such a question, when you see words like least or most or diverse, please read that question twice. NCERT tends to, or rather NTA tends to play with this. Your NEET examination set generally enjoys playing with these words. Okay, so your least similarity. So what do you see? Species, genus, family, kingdom. Yes, you will say, ma'am, we already know the answer. It is given kingdom. I know. I put it. So why is it kingdom? That's what you have to tell me quickly. Least similarity, why? Kingdom. Quick. Kingdom Animalia, mosquito, man. Similarity. But Homo sapien, go down, sapiens. Or you can go to genus. Let's say primates. Human, A. Similarity. So do you see more similarity in primates? Or do you see more similarity in kingdom? Or, as just animals? You will say yes, correct. Genus primates. At least apes are a little more similar to humans. They have mammary glands. They are still mammals, correct? Then let's go down further. Species. You have those options. Since you have species also, let's go there. So kingdom here will show you least similarity. That's the answer. Species will show you most similarity. That's how you come to a conclusion. And everything else will go as per that order. So if there was no kingdom option here, what answer will you select for least similarity? Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family. Because after family is genus, after genus is species. So the lower you go, similarities will increase. Please keep that in mind. Alright. Further, what you are observing is, which of the following is the basic unit of classification? Species. Basic unit. Okay. Smallest unit of classification is going to be species. Easy answer. Please keep that in mind. Further, growth in living organisms. How do living organisms grow? Do we grow by chemical precipitation? Really? Does that happen? Think about it. External deposition. Are we the pile of clothes in your room, or are we, the debris under some constructing site that you put more things on it and that's how we grow? No, nothing is getting deposited. Accumulation of matter. Are things getting accumulated on us? Well, I can't say if you don't have a bath, but yes, cell division. Right? We have heard that there is mitosis and there is meiosis, and mitosis is one where you can see the cells, mother cell dividing into two, and then you see the two dividing into four, and you will see those rapid cell division taking place. Yes or no? Next, which of the following organisms cannot reproduce but is still considered living? Which one was that? You have seen dogs, cats and horses making babies. Have you seen mules making babies? No. So mule is your answer. Next, which taxonomic category contains related species? Very beautiful question. I can change it to which of the taxonomic categories contains a related genus. Okay, so you have to go from down to up. Look at this word. This word is going to tell you the answer. So which comes above genus? Which comes above species? Genus. Which comes above genus? Write it quickly. Kingdom. Phylum. Phylum in case of plants or animals? Animals. Every time you go there, you have to say it. It will be division in case of plants. Okay? Correct? So, related species, genus. Related genus, family. Related family, order. One step up. Okay, go to that. Easy? Let's go next. Further, which taxonomic rank includes related genera? Genera is basically genus. So, what is your answer? Again, related genera, family. That's your answer. Easy. If it was related family, then order. So, you just go one step up. Clear, everyone? We're not expecting those questions. Now, taxonomic rank, which has a maximum number of... remember, here the answer is again kingdom. Okay? But please remember, you also, maybe you'll get a question like this. But the meaning is different here, okay? So here, maximum number of organism, maximum number. So, kingdom Animalia, you will see humans, mosquitoes, butterfly, elephants, snakes, earthworm. Imagine all species of earthworms. All species of, all possible variety of honeybees. So the number is increasing. But when you go to species, so the number of species will include, let's say, honeybee. So honeybee, only the species of honeybee. In that species of honeybee, you cannot include butterfly and humans. But in kingdom Animalia, you can include honeybee as well as humans. Are you getting it? So the number will be always highest in kingdom. Similarity will always be least in kingdom. Getting the difference? I hope you are. Next, Which taxonomic rank has minimum number of organisms? Minimum number, we just discussed. If I say honeybee species, only the species of honeybee, but you will not include any other organism. So again, the answer is species. Right? Easy, students? Now, the ability to sense and respond to environment, or we can say external stimuli. What is that? You will say, ma'am, response to stimulus, there is no option. Oh, wrong question. No. Remember I told you consciousness. Correct? So, the ability to respond to stimuli, consciousness. Easy? Which of the following is not unique? Not unique. Such a question, read it 2 times because this is so easy to score. So easy. Which of the following is not unique to living organisms? Metabolism, living organisms will do. You will see digestion, respiration and all happening in living organisms. You will not see a pile of rock giving you carbon dioxide or oxygen, right? Because nothing is happening inside that to create it. Next, cellular organization. Well, cellular organization, think about it, digestive system, respiratory system, proper unicellular, multicellular. Response to stimuli, again, like I said, if you're angry with your desk, punch it. It will not come back and punch you back. Growth, on the other hand, this is not unique to living organism. Unique. Okay, please remember the word. Here you are not talking about defining characteristic. You're just looking at the word unique. Don't confuse, keep it simple. Easy? Great. Which level of classification shows maximum similarity? Again, maximum similarity. Species. Honeybee. Right? There are different species of honeybee. You will see, okay, honeybee species, even though there are different variety, maybe the size is different, maybe the way they live is different, but then you will see that lots of similarity will be observed only in case of species. Let's say human beings. Any human being across different planet of the earth, they will still be bipedal, they will show you bilateral symmetry, they will have similar appearances. Their color may be different, genetic abnormalities or, any regional differences may be visible, but at the end of the day, they will show you maximum similarity. Clear? Next, which taxonomic rank includes related orders? Students, come on. Kingdom, phylum or division, then class, order, family, genus, species. So now you're talking about related order. What is the answer? Class. Clear? Easy? See? Which taxonomy will have related classes? Go. Kingdom, fast. Let me see who goes fast. You or me? Phylum, division, class, order, family, genus, species. Who has gone faster? Okay, come on. We are looking at classes. Phylum or division. So what are you going to pick? There is no division, so you will pick phylum. If it was division, then you will pick division. If it was both, then don't worry, you will get an option, both phylum and division. Easy? Next, scientific names when handwritten. What are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to go and learn calligraphy somewhere and write in italics? No, just underline. Underline them separately. Okay? Please remember separately, not together. This we do not need for now. Which taxonomic category includes closely related species? We've already done this. Closely related species is going to be genus. Alright. So having said this, children, we see that these are a very basic variety of questions asked from this particular topic. Like I said, you are not going to lose marks on this no matter what. Try, attempt it. Don't leave a question from living world. It's very easy to score. It becomes easy because your time to get to the answer will be very much faster as compared to the other questions that you may get from the other lessons. So having said that, let's take a quick break and let's start biological classification after this.